They face many perils along the way, like sharks and jellyfish and red turtles. And no, I'm not talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja ones. What's up everyone, it's your boy Floz MG back doing another episode of Tear Up. This time we have Pixar movies. Or Disney Pixar movies, whichever one you want to put it as. They're still movies made by Pixar. And I'm doing the ones specifically by Pixar because there are too many realms of Disney movies to dive deep into. But without further ado, I don't need to explain how this works. Let's just get right into it, shall we? Before this video starts, I just want to say that only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you like this video and want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and you can always change your mind in the future. Now back to the video. The rankings for this video are as follows. God tier. You got a friend in me. Sharpie. Ooh ha. 2319. And cancelled. First up on this list, we have the only Disney Pixar princess movie that I know of, and it is Brave. Brave follows the story of a young Scottish princess named Merida. I'm not gonna do that Scottish accent because it was either awful and I just don't want to. Either way, it follows Princess Merida, who has a sort of over-controlling mother who tries to get her to follow all the rules of being a princess. Mainly with the point that I'm pretty sure it's the only Disney Pixar movie that's a princess movie. I have to put it quite high on the list. I'm not going to put it as a God tier movie. Rather maybe a You Got a Friend in Me movie. That seems fair to me. Moving on, we got one of my favorite Pixar movies. We have Cars! Following the story of rookie racer Lightning McQueen. He's on his way to go to California when he accidentally falls off of his truck due to some other asshole kind of cars. But he finds his way to Route 66, makes his way, gets to Radiator Springs, kind of destroys the town a little bit. And basically, he has to stay there until he fixes the roads, but he makes some bonds there, so he decides not to leave. Well, maybe not leave just yet, because he sort of developed a little love interest in a car named Sally. But eventually he gets found, brought to California to do his race. He feels a little down because he doesn't really have a pit crew and he misses his friends from Radiator Springs. But to his surprise, his friends get there, and all people, Doc Hudson turns out to be his crew chief. Yay! And there are many more things I could say, but in case you haven't seen some of these movies, I'm going to keep the spoilers down to a minimum. But for Cars, you're not going to be able to change my mind. God tier movie 100%. Next, we get into sequels. We get into the first Cars movie sequel, Cars 2. This storyline focuses a bit more on Mater and on how through his journey, he kind of gets himself wrapped in like a whole spy situation. Either way, evil supervillain has a plot to basically destroy many of the race cars. Mater, he and his new spy friends have to stop them, and I'm not going to get too more detailed into it because of spoilers. And as for a sequel, I am gonna say it did not disappoint. So, we'll put it at a You Got a Friend in Me rank. Next up, we have the second sequel to the Cars franchise of Cars 3. This one follows definitely more so back on Lightning McQueen, as he is now more of a veteran racer, and there are new, more high-tech rookies coming in. Lightning McQueen has a pretty bad wreck, and basically he let the rookie get to his head. So he's been doing a lot of training to try and get back into the game, and a lot of extensive training at that. He does what he can to try to defeat the new rookie Jackson Storm. Isn't enough? I don't know. Spoilers! Overall, I want to say that this movie, it even lived up to my expectations of what Cars 2 would have been. So, yep, it's also a You Got a Friend in Me rank. Next, we're moving on to one of my favorite Pixar movies, and one of the very first ones. We have Finding Nemo! Basically, clownfish named Nemo gets taken by some divers. His father, Marlin, and his new accompanying friend who has a lot of short-term memory loss, Dory, must find them. They face many perils along the way, like sharks and jellyfish and red turtles. And no, I'm not talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja ones. This movie, to me, gets ranked pretty high on the list. Again, it's one of my favorite Pixar movies, one that I've grown up with. And even though to this day it can still freak me out a lot, I'm gonna say it's a god tier one. That's just me. Next, we have a newer Disney Pixar movie, The Good Dinosaur. This sort of like switches the roles between like man and beast, where dinosaurs have more like human-like tendencies and like positions in this movie, whereas the role of beast is now taken over by humans. They have more like pet-like characteristics or whatever. I don't really know how to word it, and again, don't want to get into it. Spoilers! It wasn't one of the worst ones, and it also wasn't one of the best ones. To me, this movie sort of hit me like right in the middle, so we'll put it at shark bait ooh-ha-ha. That's just me. We have The Incredibles, a family of superheroes. Yeah, crime fighters. Basically, at first, superheroes were loved and cherished by all until the government decided to put them in bad light by saying, superheroes cause a lot of major city destruction. They cannot be trusted. How else are we going to deal with society? And all that other kind of bullshit. Either way, something happened which calls for the Incredibles to come out of hiding and other superheroes to come out of hiding. Basically stop a big dastardly villain, and I'm not going to get into too much detail about that because spoilers! Alright, but Incredibles, do you really have to ask me? God tier, motherfucker! Next up we have Incredibles 2, sequel to the first Incredibles, which came out a good 15 years later. This one focuses more on the plotline of wanting to make superheroes legal again, but as usual, someone doesn't want superheroes to become legal. Really? Yeah. So what do? They try to destroy the plan. It may backfire on them. I'm not gonna get into much detail, but still. Spoilers! Incredibles 2, it was good, but it can never rise to the standards of the first Incredibles. You got a friend in me, rank. Next up, another one of my favorite Pixar movies, Monsters Incorporated! With monsters like Sully and Wazowski. John Goodman and Billy Crystal duo, that is a duo you cannot break up. Still, to me, Monsters Incorporated, I believe, had one of the best stories in all of the Pixar movies. You're never going to be able to change my mind. That is a god tier movie. Next up, we have its sequel, Monsters University, which goes over the history of how Sully and Wazowski met in college, and how their career as scarers began. I'm definitely not going to get into that one because even more spoilers. I feel like maybe that movie didn't completely rise to the standards of some of the You Got a Friend in Me movies. It's definitely better than The Good Dinosaur, so that actually has me thinking. I'm going to move The Good Dinosaur down to 2319 and move Monsters University up to Shark Bait Ooh-ha-ha. You think one of the Monsters ones would be in 2319, but no! Next up we have Ratatouille, a rat who loves to cook. This isn't like one of my favorite, like, oh my god, this is such a great movies. Like, if I had to choose like a couple Pixar movies to never ever see again, Ratatouille would probably be on that list, because again, it never really got me sucked into it. Like, I don't want to do it, but like with all tier lists, there are some that have to be at the very top and some that always have to be at the bottom. And Ratatouille, I will say, it was okay, but still. Where there are those at the top, there must be those at the bottom. It's just how it is. Next up, we have the movie that inspired the You Got a Friend in Me rank. We have Toy Story! One of, if not the first Pixar movie, I think it was. Centering around a toy cowboy and space ranger named Woody and Buzz Lightyear. They go on these amazing journeys together throughout the world, or blah 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 blah. Spoilers! Again, I can't get too much into these movies because I'm pretty sure there are some people out there who haven't seen these movies, but if you know the movies, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Toy Story, yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that it's a god tier movie. The first sequel to Toy Story, Toy Story 2, duh, where we're introduced to some new characters, like Jessie and Bullseye, and some other ones I'm probably gonna forget the name of. and plans to be sold to go to a museum. He tries to find his way out, but he ends up making friends with the other ones who are going to be going to the museum. And basically they have this whole plan thing that needs to happen, but I'm not going to say it because spoilers! The bottom three ranks, they're looking kind of bare, and I don't like that. As much as I don't want to put Toy Story 2 in that realm, it needs to fill the bars. Toy Story 2, that is my honest ranking. And where there is one sequel, there always has to be another. Next up we have Toy Story 3, where the toys go to daycare because they feel like Andy has outgrown them. Little do they know, it would be the daycare of doom. Either way, there's some sort of like a twist villain in this, but again, not gonna get too much into it because spoilers! So, Toy Story 3, it's a 2319 movie. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Disney Pixar's Up. Centers around an old man who loved having adventures with his wife, but unfortunately his wife passed away, and then he's been an old grump ever since. He wanted to fulfill his and his wife's one last adventure that they wanted to do, which is move their house next to this waterfall I forget the name of. In the process, there's like this Boy Scout type kid named Russell, who stows away on the old man's air house thing. For the time that I've seen it, it was a movie that got me wrapped into it a little bit, but not enough to put it in the shark bait ooh-ha-ha. Sorry, but you're just a 2319 movie. Next up, we have the final one, and it is WALL-E. Earth has become a desolate wasteland, and there are robots to constantly create like these trash cubes or whatever. WALL-E was one of them. I don't know what WALL-E stands for. And while these robots have been down on Earth, where have all the humans gone? Well, we're the only place they could go. They went to space. Every now and then, a probe would be sent down from the ship to the Earth to find any sort of life, any sort of sustainable life on Earth, to know if it were safe to go back. It has been nearly impossible to find sustainable life on Earth, until WALL-E happened to grow a plant in a shoe. WALL-E eventually falls in love with the probe, so he follows the probe back up to the ship where all the humans are living. Woohoo! Basically, there's a whole love story that's entailed in all this, but I'm not going to get right into it because, again, spoilers. But this movie, again, it couldn't wrap me in as much as any of these other movies could. So we're going to have to put it at canceled. I apologize to any of you who really love that movie. But I think these are going to have to be my standings. I've been Floz MG. This has been ranking Disney Pixar movies. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!
Bitch, I ain't your hero. Don't call me a savior. Think I'm out of control, eh? That's just my behavior. I'm bringing the house down. Major devastation. You don't gotta worry, cause it don't matter.